This season, Instacart has your back to school. As in, they've got your back to school lunch favorites, like snack packs and fresh fruit. And they've got your back to school supplies, like backpacks, binders, and pencils. And they've got your back when your kid casually tells you they have a huge school project due tomorrow. Let's face it, we were all that kid. So first call your parents to say I'm sorry, and then download the Instacart app to get delivery in as fast as 30 minutes all school year long. Get a $0 delivery fee for your first 3 orders while supplies last. Minimum $10 per order. Additional terms apply.
Acast powers the world's best podcasts. Here's a show that we recommend.
What is The Briefing Room? It's a behind-the-scenes look at how the criminal justice system works and the lives of the people within that system.
If you love true crime, well, these are the real people who do the job every day of making sure justice is served.
Hi, I'm Detective Dave.
I'm Detective Dan. Together, we have decades of experience in local law enforcement, a profession that we think is often misunderstood.
So we're going to explore how to do it right, and we won't shy away from when it's done wrong. These are stories you'll hear nowhere else. Unique, frank, and unvarnished.
From the team that brought you Small Town Dicks, this is The Briefing Room. Episode 1 drops on August 30th.
We'll meet you in the briefing room.
Acast helps creators launch, grow, and monetize their podcasts everywhere. Acast.com.
And welcome back to Scarred for Life, the podcast where we open up old wounds by looking back at the films that scared us as kids. I'm Terry.
I'm Mary Beth.
And each episode, our special guest or guests will bring with them a movie that traumatized them as a child.
This week, our guests are influencer, director, and co-writer Kurtis David Harder, who is also the mind behind Spiral, not the Book of Saul, but Spiral, about the two men. And then influencer star Cassandra Naud, who plays CW in the film. Hello, and welcome to the show.
Hello. Thanks for having us.
We're so excited. We talked about this on one of our mini episodes about how much we loved this movie and how surprising it is and how it's hard to talk about with anybody because of that. But yeah, we're so excited to have you both here to chat about the film. Especially you, Cassandra. Sorry, Kurtis, but you are incredible in the movie. You're like really scary. So congratulations on that.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much. I swear I'm really not scary in real life, like at all. A little bit.
A little bit.
Hey, now you watch.
Well, okay. So can you tell the listeners who might not have seen it yet what Influencer is about?
Yeah. So it follows Madison, who's a kind of influencer on a trip in Thailand. She's kind of portraying it as this wonderful, magical trip, but deep down, she's having some relationship problems. She's dealing with some loneliness and kind of feeling a little bit ostracized from her kind of community. And then through that meets CW, kind of this enigmatic girl who's been kind of living in Thailand, and kind of teaches her to put the phone down and starts showing her around, showing her kind of the sights, but there's some ulterior motives at play.
There sure are. And that, so what I love about this movie is that well, first of all, I love that there is basically like almost a 30-minute cold open.
Yeah.
I love movies that do that. That's my favorite thing in movies, like in The Empty Man, when it's like we're watching this entire movie and then pretty soon it's like, boom, there's the opening credits. So I love that. But what I also really enjoyed about this one is we've seen a lot of influencer horror recently, but a lot of times they're looking down on it. Whereas this, I feel this movie Influencer kind of has a little bit more nuanced approach to their life. I really enjoyed like the opening sequence where we're seeing kind of what she's filming, but then we also see the widescreen of what is the audience is not seeing, and it's very lonely and very sad. And I was just kind of curious how that idea kind of came to be.
Yeah, I think in a lot of movies lately where influencers become kind of the focus, it's easy to kind of dismiss and mock them. That is the typical kind of way we go about it. And like, I think it's easy to judge influencers, but at the end of the day, they are people underneath the kind of the facade that they put online. So a big thing for Tesh and I was just like, we want to kind of play with those expectations for all the characters in the film. We're excited if you judge them when you first meet them, and slowly we can kind of pull apart little pieces and make you maybe question why you jump to your certain conclusions, because the movie is a lot about first impressions and how those can kind of harm you.
Mm-hmm. Well, and then, so Cassandra, I wanted to hear about, like, this is your first feature, right? This is your first feature film.
Sure is.
So what was that what was that experience like, just with that, but then playing a character like CW? Like, you just jumped in the deep end with the feature film debut with this character, and I love that.
I really did. I remember when I first read the script, I was like, how on earth am I going to do this? There was just like so many layers to her. There's so much to her, especially when it comes to like her physicality. I had to learn how to ride a motorcycle. I had to learn how to swim. I didn't even know how to swim. Honestly, that was the scariest day for me. It's just like, you're expecting me to swim? Okay, sure.
You read it.
I did. No, I did it. And yeah. But there were just like so many things about her to discover and like to do. It was a huge challenge, and I was so stoked because roles like this happen once in a lifetime for actors. It's literally like an actor's dream. But I remember just being so hungry and like so excited to just like literally dive into the deep end, as you said. So it was really such an incredible experience. And to go to Thailand, I had never been to Asia, so like that was just a bonus.
Oh, cool.
I was going to ask what it was like filming in Thailand, because that's my brother spent time there, like a year there, and he has shared stories and pictures, and it looks so beautiful. So I was just curious how that was filming there.
Yeah, it was so stunning, and I'm sure Kurt's going to talk about this, but it was during COVID, so there wasn't that many tourists there. So I feel like
wild.
The people like were just so happy to see, tourists again, which was really exciting. And I just feel like we got such like special treatment because there was nobody else there, which was just wild.
Yeah. I mean, we were supposed to shoot in 2020 and then obviously got pushed back like a year and a half. So it was a bit of a weird kind of transition going from kind of planning to kind of comment and showcase how crazy tourism is over there. And then when we went, it was like kind of this double-edged sword where the script changed in kind of a cool way, where it kind of really amplified the isolation and kind of the feelings that Madison's going through. But on the positive side, it was just like we had access to so many more locations and beaches that normally would be very hard to shoot in. So it was cool. It was a weird experience that ended up, I think, coming out much more on top than we expected.
Hell yeah.
Well, and then going back to CW, Cassandra, I'm curious, like, how did you, I think I talked, Kurtis, to you about this when I interviewed for Dread Central, about how you built a backstory for her, but it's like all to you, right? Like, is that how you kind of got into her head? You had your own whole story for CW? Yeah, I think that, I definitely did a lot of like background work before getting to Thailand on her and like who she is and why she does the things that she does. But I think what's great about this movie is that it allows the audience to kind of create their own narrative for her. Yeah. Instead of like a spoon feeding you, like why she does the things that she does. It's kind of cool. Like you get to create your own, like, I don't know, imaginary backstory for her, which I thought was really cool when I first read the script. That's so cool.
Yeah, it was cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
I also like when I was, sorry, please go.
No, I was just going to add, like, I think Tesh and I kind of really talked about the avoiding the typical Bond speech and playing with like leaving clues throughout the script, but not, like Cassandra said, not spoon feeding, and kind of letting the character speak for itself as opposed to kind of a show don't tell sort of scenario.
Yeah. So the other thing is, I was looking on IMDb and I saw that you, Cassandra, were in C, the Apple TV show. I'm here. How was that, filming that? I just have to ask, because I'm a huge fan of Apple TV stuff, and C was really enjoyable. So I'm just curious about that.
Oh my God, C was such an incredible experience. My favorite part about that job was they trained us. Like fully blind with a sleep mask on. So I got to do like extensive like echolocation training, and like, yeah, for me it was the training, because also I have a movement in dance, And so my role on C was very much like movement based, and I played like a warrior type with like hyper senses, which was just like I'm allowed to say fucking cool.
Yeah, you sure are.
And I got to play with weapons and do a lot of like fight choreography, which is something that I feel like I'm strong suit of mine, definitely from my dance background. Pretty cool. I did get stabbed in the eye at one point though, so that was pretty horrific.
Oh no.
Like actually there was a shot where they needed 3 heads in the frame, and then my scene partner had a knife here to the neck, but it was sticking out a little too far, and then my head had to come into frame here, and I went, because obviously you can't look at where you're going, but hey, we kept the shot going. It's fine. I was like, hey, I'm stabbed. But other than that, it was sick. There you're all your faces.
Are you serious? I mean, you obviously, can you still see it?
I mean,
like,
it was a knife, right? But like and it didn't hit. Is it the cornea? It hit the white part. Yeah. Whatever that's called.
Oh, okay.
But still,
you're fine now.
My eye was like fully red. I had a little bit of a gash in it, but it was fine. No further damage was done other than in that one moment. But I can see.
Wow. How do we follow that? How do we follow that up, Terry?
I know. There is no way to follow that, but I am kind of curious, Kurtis, because I, as well as directing, you also produce a lot. I'm seeing a lot of like people kind of circling in your like periphery with like Colin Miniham you did Spiral, but then also Z, and you produced Harpoon and What Keeps You Alive. Is this like some kind of collective that you guys are part of, or how are you just friends? How did all that kind of come together?
Yeah, it's kind of just organically come together in terms of just different filmmakers wanting to support each other. Brandon Christensen, who directed Z, produced this movie. We just did another shoot that I produced for him. Rob Grant, who did Harpoon, is an incredibly talented guy, amazing dude. He co-edited this movie. So it's kind of just an unofficial thing where we all just kind of support each other and want to help each other make better movies. So it's been really cool. I think like just cultivating very community-based in the horror genre. I think
Rob Grant was our very first guest on this podcast.
That's awesome.
We love him.
He's one of my favorite people in the world. Yeah.
He's
a weirdo.
He's so kind.
Oh yeah. Oh, 100%. Fake Blood is so weird, and I love it so much. That movie is so fucked up. I love that
you've seen it. No, like you and 12 other people. That movie is.
Me and Terry watched it. I've seen it too. We love Fake Blood. That movie rules.
Yeah, I just gave that movie a shout out on the last thing I was at. People should definitely check it out. It's very fun.
I should watch it. I haven't seen it.
Oh god, it's so good.
It's so good.
No,
it's like
Rob's in it. He's like one of the main.
Shoot.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah.
But
it is really fun.
I want to hear about how the two of you got into horror, or if like what your horror relationship is. And like Kurtis, starting with you, like how did you kind of get introduced to the horror genre?
So I did not grow up watching horror movies. I mean, some of the classics, obviously saw a lot of Kubrick's work and stuff, but I really kind of fell in love with the genre when we started producing. My first movie as a sole producer was Stillborn, that Brandon directed.
Okay.
And me and the other co-producer, Chris Ball, both kind of had this conversation. We're like, we do not know this genre. We need to get caught up. And so every night when we were prepping, we'd prep the movie during the day. And in the night, we'd watch 2-3 kind of horror movies that were kind of classics, and watched, I don't even know how many movies in the 2 months leading up to the shoot, but just fell in love with the genre through that. It was just like, wow, it was cool because as adults, we were finally able to, we were seeing a lot of these movies that a lot of people see growing up, but we saw them as adults. And so it was kind of cool discovering all of these kind of classics that we knew of them, but we just never seen them. So from there, it kind of spawned into now doing a bunch of horror movies.
That's so cool. So wait, so then because you worked on that movie, that got you into wanting to like write and direct horror?
Yeah. Yeah, because it was
so fucking cool.
It was really cool. And it's like being able to see all these films that we just hadn't, it's like you just didn't really, it was adjacent. You see a couple of them, but just focusing in and being like, oh, I want to watch everything now.
Wow. And then Cassandra, what about you? How did you get introduced to horror?
Yeah, I was not a horror baby.
Okay, cool.
Whatsoever. I feel like I had a big gap from when well, I won't say the title drop yet, but the thing that we're going to talk about, there was a big gap because I watched that and then I had a traumatic young experience happen. I'll just tell the story.
Okay.
So I used to dance in this performance troupe and I was really young, and we would just perform around town. And there was one day where they wanted us to perform in the hospital, and this was like the fourth floor. It's like the floor that people go to end their life. And there was this older woman, bless her, RIP, probably, definitely. But she had this like audible that she couldn't stop. It was just noise that came out of her. And I was probably like 7 years old at the time. And I saw her, we went like this down the hall. We just crossed each other and she would just cross me and go, and I was like, I can't dance. I can't do it. I can't do it. And so that stayed with me. And then this show that we're going to talk about stayed with me. And so I just couldn't really do it anymore until I was a teenager. And so I'm really not a horror girly. I'm a new horror girly. I watched Pearl this year and X, which I absolutely fell in love with. Like
You're so good.
So good. I can't wait for Maxine. I'm like so looking forward to that. But definitely this is a new world for me. And I'm really excited to explore more of it. As long as there's someone else in the room watching these movies with me, I'm fine. It's chill.
And you never had an experience of making people watch you horror movies at a sleepover or anything?
I mean, yeah, older, but like not really. I remember we watched The Grudge. We watched The Grudge, and then my friend and I, to get over that, we did a combo to the Pussycat Dolls just to help go to sleep because I was just so terrified. I was like, I need to do something else. So let's dance to some Pussycat Dolls. I was still scared. And then I was just scared to shower. I don't know. Yeah, there was a gap there. But The Grudge, I do remember watching The Grudge. Terrifying stuff.
So I have to ask, did you see The Grudge before this unfortunate situation with the old lady with the After?
Yeah. Because I was like
that would have
14 when I watched The Grudge.
I would have noped out.
Right? Oh my God. I still think about her. Like I feel bad. Poor old woman. But it was scary.
Yeah. 7, when like you're not really sure what's going on in a hospital like that, and you're kind of just like, I'm here to dance, but then I did Christmas Carol as a Girl Scout in a place like that, and it was always very traumatizing to just be like, this is a very weird. I don't know what's going on, but it feels weird.
Yeah.
It's like surreal.
I know. I had to do like a Mary Poppins supercalifragistic. I still remember the choreography. I'm doing it right now.
Wow.
I can't do my supercala after watching that woman and hearing her doing it. I just can't. I couldn't. Yeah, I cried in the corner and my mom picked me up. Oh. Anyways.
God. Lord, again, how do we go from that?
Well, I'm curious, do you both get scared as adults watching horror movies?
Oh yeah. I'm very verbal. I scream at my TV. And I have like this. If I can't hear it, sometimes the soundtracks are scarier than the movies. So I feel like if I plug my ears, I can watch it. I don't know. How about you, Kurt?
Not as much. I think I enjoy the tension. I think that's always fun. But I'm not screaming. I'm jealous of your screams.
I am too. I'm actually jealous when people still get scared of movies because there have been movies that like will terrify me as an adult, but I've seen so many of them in my entire life that like it's hard to like get me anymore. But when I meet people that still get scared, I'm just like, I really want to watch horror movies with you because I love that thrill, and I miss that I don't get it anymore.
Climax actually was the last one that like really got me. I think I watched that in the cinema. And
which one?
The Climax, Gaspar Noé. That movie made me feel like I was high, and I felt like actually someone sitting behind me like spilled their Coke, and it was like dripping down towards my feet, and I was like, "Is this the movie, or are my feet actually getting wet right now?" And I had no idea. I was like, I feel like I'm on like psychedelics right now. I have no idea what's happening, and I felt weird for like an hour after that movie.
It's such a weird movie, and it's like a visceral experience, especially how that opening dance sequence is just, if you feel like you're high, it's like you're like entranced to being high. It's so good. Whenever I want to feel something, I just watch that on YouTube.
Oh, the dance number? Yeah, it's good. It's a little Vogue moment. Very good.
Vogue moment. But then, so Curtis, there's another movie though that scared you when you were younger, right?
Yeah,
that really got you.
I watched Signs as a kid when that came out and could not sleep for like 2 months. I was like sleeping out on the couch And my parents were like, can you stop sleeping out here? And I was just like, I couldn't. For some reason in my room, I thought aliens were going to come get me. And that's that scene where the birthday party, when the alien pops out, that still is like etched into my brain. So it's been weird. Still think about it.
It's a good moment. That kind of found footagey monster walking in the distance is always good for a scream.
Yeah.
And like, despite how weirdly pro-Catholic that movie is,
it's strange rewatching it. Yeah,
it's so strange rewatching it because like I saw that when I was younger, and I did not catch like the whole God and like getting your faith back theme. I was just terrified of the aliens. So rewatching it, especially with Mel Gibson as the dad. It's all very back strange.
Priesthood at the end.
Yeah, it's all very bizarre. But that movie, like I saw when I was younger too, and my dad is an ass and decided to tell me that it was a real movie and that the aliens were coming for me. And so I didn't sleep because it was both the trailer and the movie, because the trailer had that fucking shot of the light, like the flashlight in the cornfield, and you saw just like that's the one leg go into the corn, and that was what terrified me for months as a kid, was just like, and I can now, but I could not look at cornfields the same. Like I was always terrified of cornfields. I was ready for some fucking alien to pop out of the cornfield for years. Like even when I wasn't scared of it anymore, it was still that thought that would creep in and be like, remember that movie? Like, what if there's an alien in the cornfield? And I lived like near a rural area, so there was a lot of corn exposure.
So much corn exposure.
Too much corn exposure.
Too much corn exposure. But because have you seen this movie, Cassandra? Signs?
No, I haven't. Should I? Yeah. Okay.
Great.
I mean, like, I'm curious if it's as scary. Well, if you get scared easily, it'll be scary. But just be ready for a very a weirdly pro-God story.
Come away.
Aliens, I don't find alien stuff very scary. So if it's, we'll see.
Okay.
Yeah. There's elderly people and ghosts.
Okay. All right. This doesn't have either of those, but it's still a good scary movie.
And Mel Gibson's
young Joaquin Phoenix with a baseball bat.
Yeah. He's like the best part of that movie.
He really is. Oh, the other part of that movie that terrifies me is when he has the knife where he's trying to look under the door. And he sees the alien jump, like the alien's hand shoots out and he cuts off its fingers.
That has not aged well, though. Have you
absolutely not. Oh, absolutely not.
That was terrifying as a kid, and then I rewatched it as an adult. I was like, I was scared of this. This CGI is brutal.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Oh yes, it is brutal. But man, oh man, do you like M. Night Shyamalan's work, Kurtis? Is that like, are you a fan of him?
His early work. I think, once The Lady in the Water and The Happening started happening, I don't know if he just got George Lucas and nobody was telling him that his ideas weren't quite working. But yeah.
What are your opinions on The Village? What is your opinion on The Village?
The Village, I actually love it. I think it's really fun. I know it was definitely split, but it's cool that he did so many different things. Like Unbreakable's so great. Sixth Sense is obviously classic. So it's like he was just hitting home runs.
The Sixth Sense like changed horror. And I mean, look, I'm not a huge fan of his new stuff, but I have to give him kudos for trying to swing for the fences, and he's getting money to do it.
I mean, that's the thing that he always does, though, is he takes those wild swings. Sometimes it's a miss, but sometimes he hits them out of the ballpark. And I have to say, his producing work that he's done, as well as directing on Servant, the Apple TV show, is impeccable.
I always forget.
Impeccable.
Watch that.
It's really good. It's really weird, but it's really good.
When you pick up some scratches, cause you want a fun break, the playful way you scratch is the next choice you should make. You can make your dog's leg kick and scratch with that. You could even grab a laser pointer and use your cap. You can build yourself a homemade scratching machine, or use a piece from your chess set. Go ahead, grab the queen. Scratch like a DJ with your record player. A cactus could scratch off that scratchable layer. Cause when it comes to scratching, there's a million playful ways. Thanks to scratchers from the California Lottery, a little play can make a day.
Please play responsibly. Must be 18 years or older to purchase, play, or claim.
Selling your car to Carvana is as easy as...
As easy as pie?
Sure. All you have to do is enter your license plate or VIN.
As easy as a stroll in the park.
Okay, then just answer a few questions and you'll get a real offer in seconds.
As easy as singing.
Why not? Schedule a pickup or drop off and Carvana will pay you that amount right on the spot.
As easy as playing guitar.
Actually, I find that kind of difficult. But selling your car to Carvana is as easy as...
Can be.
Visit Carvana.com or download the app to get an instant offer today.
On that note, Cassandra, we
Yes.
talked about Signs a little bit, but Cassandra, what episode of a TV show did you bring with you today for us to discuss?
Yikes. So Goosebumps.
Fuck yeah.
It came from Under the Sink. I don't know what it was about that stupid sponge, but I couldn't fall asleep forever. I thought it was under my bed. I like never cleaned. I never touched sponges. I did clean, but like no sponges. Sponges weren't allowed. There was something about that sponge. There was something about the teeth on that thing that was like spaghetti. I looked at it now. It's not scary at all. But back then, I just like could see the eyes in my sleep. It kept me up at night. And I don't understand why, because it's just a sponge. It's a sponge with teeth.
I'll read the really quick synopsis for anyone who is not familiar with the incredible Goosebumps television show from 1996 on. What looks like a sponge under the kitchen sink is actually an evil creature that thrives on bad luck. Yeah.
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 That's it. But, sorry, Terry.
Do you remember how old you were when you saw it?
Well, it came out in 96. So I was probably like, well, I don't think I was 4. So maybe I was like 5 or 6 when I watched that episode. And I don't know why I watched it. I used to sneak out of my room a lot and watch TV by myself. But so probably, and I had an older brother that would just show me what to watch. So that happened. So then I watched that episode. But I rewatched it as an adult, and it's still like it's a banger, but it's definitely not as scary as I remembered it back then. Nothing ever is, but yeah, it's so silly. But
it is silly.
It's so silly.
But it is like I don't know. There's something. I think the thing that I think it does really well and I'll tell my relationship with Goosebumps in a bit, but like watching it as an adult, the thing that I think it does really well is make you afraid of things that you can't really see. Mm-hmm. So like when she's first climbing under the cabinet in the kitchen and she's looking for the kitty, and we know that there's something not happy under there, but like that kind of tension there, or like later on when she's reaching over for her towel and she touches it, or it's like crawling under her bed, like the idea that there's something that should be pretty benign is actually like kind of haunting and hunting. Absolutely. Is I mean, it's kind of creepy.
Yeah, and I think going back to like sound, I think that the sounds that they use and like the track in the back is also something that they do really, really well. So if I just would have maybe done this, plugged my ears and watched it as a kid, it wouldn't be so bad. But yeah, definitely like very affected by sound. So maybe that also did something to my brain to make me really afraid of sponges. I don't know. My mom made me clean a lot too, so maybe there's like some sort of
like a Venn diagram there.
Yeah. So maybe there's that as well. Definitely some sort of connection to cleaning. I clean, guys, just so you know. I'm a mess over here. I've learned my lesson. I just don't buy sponges. I use other tools. Rags. I don't know. But
there you go.
Goosebumps was terrifying, and I think that's my only memory of a Goosebump episode. So I think I was just really like turned off by it after that.
Okay, Kurtis, had you seen this before? Did you have a relationship with the Goosebumps show at all?
I didn't watch it growing up. I don't know if my parents would let us. We were allowed to watch Signs, but not. I don't know.
I think so.
In a religious household. Maybe that has something to do with the Signs.
Okay.
Parents had a crazy transition there, not anymore, but growing up was very religious. But Cassandra, you just worked with one of the actors from that episode.
I did, which was just like I had brought it up on set, and then 2 and 2 came together, and she was the little girl, Catherine Isabel. I got to work with her like about a month ago on a new feature, which is really exciting. But it just was a happy coincidence.
Wait, that's so cool.
I know. And then and when I realized that it was her, I had to rewatch the episode. And then I realized, oh, wow, it's really not so bad.
Wait, that's so cool though. And like I didn't remember that she was in this, which was awesome because I love Ginger Snaps and I love her. And so it was like, oh wow, she was a baby. But then also you getting to work with her and being like, oh, by the way, you ruined my childhood. Thank you so much.
I did tell her that. Yeah,
you had to.
Of course I did. She's lovely. She was so fun, like so much energy, so fun to work with as well. So cool. But yeah, it was really funny when we realized that, she did ruin my childhood and gave me lots of nightmares. To be fair, it was not her. It was the sponge. She was great.
Right.
I was on team.
She was the hero.
She was the hero. She sang to it. And glass was always half full. For her in the end for the episode.
Well, the ending also, like, I know I'm like jumping ahead, but it's got like a Babadook ending and that you can't get rid
Thank you.
You can't get rid of the sponge or whatever, like its little name, you're stuck with it forever. And you just have to like make it happy and hang out with it forever. And it's like you're stuck with it no matter what, which I was like, oh, that's like the Babadook. And I was like, wait, did Goosebumps do the Babadook before the Babadook?
That's another one too that I
not as sad and like like looking at grief, but I'm like, wait, that's very familiar.
Give the sponge some compliments and everything's fine.
Give it headphones and just make it happy. Make it happy. But because I was a Goosebumps girl. Like I read the books. I now am like collecting them slowly but surely from like thrift stores and stuff because my parents like got rid of them when they moved and when I was older and stuff. But I love Goosebumps. And this was one of the ones that scared me, especially when I can't fully remember when I saw it for the first time, but I do remember when we moved into our new house, I was fucking terrified that I was going to see red eyes under the sink. Like I definitely was worried that I was going to get sponged, as I will call it, because I had seen it so recently and I was pretty young and it just like, I was convinced it would happen to me. So I get that. It was terrifying, but I wasn't scared of all sponges. Like the yellow ones were fine, like the regular, but like the ones that you could get for like, that looks like this one, like it was like a bigger, looks like kind of like a brain. Nope. Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Nope,
the sea sponge, right? It's like an actual sea. Yeah. No.
Yeah.
It was alive at one point. That's creepy.
That's okay.
That is creepy.
Isn't it?
We'll talk about more Goosebumps later, but I was a Goosebumps kid. I had so many of them. I was so excited you wanted to bring this because Goosebumps was like my absolute favorite thing to read. I read.
Fair. That was the only thing I saw, so I can't relate too much to it. That one sponge, I'm out. I remember seeing the books.
Done. Too scary for me.
Nope.
Yeah, no, thank you. I remember seeing the books because I grew up fully Francophone, and my English class, I couldn't read them at the time because I couldn't read English, but I remember seeing them there and just like never wanting to touch those books ever. And they were in English.
The covers are scary and the covers are terrifying too. Like even though they're written for kids, like the covers are what stick into your head, because the cover for this one is what also stuck in my head, because it is like red eyes under the sink. It's all you can see, but it looks even bigger and even scarier in the cover. Like it looks like it looks like a big creature rather than like the tiny little thing that it was.
See, I was a Goosebumps boy as well, but like I was like introduced to horror books through Goosebumps. And it was in 5th grade, and my teacher, so it would have been 11, and the books had just, or 11 or 12, I think it was 11, and the books had just started coming out. Like the very first Goosebumps came out, I think when I was like 1992. So I was 11 when the first book came out, and we read it. My teacher had story time, and so in 5th grade, my little British teacher that I mentioned on the show before, Mrs. Michaelschek, she would read to us from Welcome to the Dead House, the very first book. And then we loved it so much after she was done reading that, we moved into another one. And so my introduction kind of to horror literature was through Goosebumps, because I didn't know that. I had seen movies, I'd seen cartoons, I'd seen all that kind of stuff, but I just didn't realize that people were writing about horror as well until the Goosebumps. And so I became like a huge fan of him. Luckily, he was like pumping them out constantly. I think like that first year he released like 4 or 5 Goosebumps books. And it just like, it was always something for me to read, and there was always coming out. So like, it's kind of what got me into literature, honestly, is these Goosebumps books.
Shout out to Goosebumps. That's amazing.
I know.
Wow.
Did
Love
you have
R.L.
access
Stine.
to them, the books, Curtis? I mean, like, I know you said your parents were really religious, but did that extend to books too, or was it like just watching stuff?
Well, mostly, yeah. I don't know. I didn't read many of the books. We also lived in a very Christian town, so it was a bit
Okay.
like they didn't allow trick or treating there, so it was like,
Oh, okay.
wow.
So then you wouldn't even have Goosebumps like in the library.
I don't even think it would be in the library. Yeah, I'm trying to remember.
my goodness.
Where did you grow up?
Wait, I thought you were from Calgary.
Later, but yeah, my early childhood was in this place called Cairnport, Saskatchewan, just outside of Moose Jaw, and so it was like a Bible college town where it was like, I think half the population was Bible students. Like, so it was interesting, and it was yeah,
Fascinating.
but
How old were you when you left that town?
Where we escaped? Yeah, we moved around a bunch later, but I think I was like 12 or 13 when we finally left. So it was a lot of my early childhood. Yeah.
Wow. Bananas.
My parents run like a psychedelic company now, so they've shifted massively.
Wait, say that again?
They work in like psychedelics now, so it's been a funny transition.
Your parents do?
Yeah, they went from very like fundamentalist Christians to quite the hippies now, so it's pretty fun. But working with like Health Canada here in Canada, so it's like they're doing like above board stuff. So it's been pretty fun.
It's amazing.
What a transformation. I want a movie about your parents.
One day.
Yeah. Whoa, that'd be cool.
That's so cool. Whoa. What did you watch as a kid? Like, what kind of media did you consume, or like content? I hate that I said that. I'm so sorry.
Content.
I'm so sorry I said it.
A lot of films. I think like it was really like middle school when my like love for cinema like really. I mean, I always wanted to be a filmmaker, but it was like watching like family movies and Disney stuff as a kid, and then slowly discovering that there's like dark films, not really horror films, but kind of stuff that is like I guess Jacob's Ladders in that world would be like the closest thing to horror that I was watching. Yeah. But a lot of those kind of stuff where any sort of like cerebral or kind of mind fuckery type of things were like suddenly in middle school, I was like buying DVDs and hiding them because my parents, if they found out, would be like, I would be in big trouble for owning like R-rated movies. But so I had my public collection of DVDs, and then I had a very hidden like another 100 movies like hidden in different drawers and stuff.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Whoa.
So,
that's amazing.
Were you into David Lynch and stuff? And then thinking of cerebral, were you like a David Lynch head when you were younger?
Some of his stuff. He's a bit of a hit or miss for me. I remember watching Eraserhead and being like, I do not understand what the hell is going on in this, but come to appreciate the craft more with time.
Fair.
Yeah. But like Kubrick and kind of all those guys, or
cool.
Like his work as a kid was like hugely yeah.
What were some of your favorites that you had like smuggled into your house as a kid?
I'm trying to remember. I mean, Fight Club was really cool as an edgy young kid. It was like, you're like,
of course,
this is crazy. Any kind of stuff like that. Seven.
Cool. Seven. Wow, going from being like a fundamentalist Christian background and watching Seven is a very interesting experience.
I mean, I left, like I was a problem child for my family for sure. Left Christianity pretty early.
Cool.
But
yeah. Wild. Yeah. Anyway, sorry to detract from Goosebumps. I was just like, that's wild. Like, it's just wild. Carrie, what were you saying?
So one thing, I have to like, I'm annoyed and thankful at the same time, because I had probably not watched a Goosebumps in forever. And the moment I started playing it, it immediately brought me back to being, I think I was 14 when like this show started to air. No, it would have been 15. But and I watched some of it because I had such an affinity for Goosebumps. But I'll tell you, the moment that theme song came on when I was watching this last night, I have been vocalizing that all fucking day because it's been stuck in my head. I just go, dun, dun, dun. It's an iconic opening.
God, with the dog with
really
the eyes
iconic.
And like the G. Like, man, when I was younger, I wanted to get the G tattoo so bad. I thought it would be so cool if I had the big Goosebumps, like the Goosebumps, like G tattooed on me.
Would you have
regretted
regretted
I still might do it.
Oh, shoot.
Probably not. Probably not.
Wow. You really love Goosebumps.
I don't even know your next tattoo now.
Yeah, seriously.
I know.
I know. God, I
A
fucking
tramp
love
stamp. The G.
There you go.
There you go. Hey, if you did 2 G's, that could be
Oh my
cute.
God. Like butterfly wings or a heart. I could make a...
Yeah. And you can make it ooze like it does.
Oh my God,
Is it too
wow.
much? I'll send over a drawing.
Yeah.
Look, time to reclaim the tramp stamp. We're just going to go full circle, look at a Goosebumps tramp stamp, and it'll be absolutely incredible.
You're so welcome.
No, so the one that terrified me the most in Goosebumps as a kid is the one that most people see. It's the mask one that gets stuck to the girl's face. I think it's called, I can't remember the name. What the hell is the name of it?
Why is that ringing a bell?
There's
a mask. That's different.
No, I don't have that one.
Carrie.
Was it The Haunted Mask?
Yes, the haunted mask.
Was
It's
it
like
that?
it's the green mask with like the big teeth on it, and she's trying to pull it off of her face and on the cover. And that one is what gave me nightmares for years. Like I'd have very vivid dreams of having that mask stuck on my face and not being able to pull it off and trying to like cut it off of my face when I was like 10 or 11. I think, which is weird because I saw this earlier than that, I thought, but like I just started having nightmares about it. It really fucking got to me. That is the scariest one I've ever read / seen. And then the puppet. I hate that fucking puppet.
Does the writing and the show, do they live up to each other? Because usually there's always like one that's better than the other, the book or the show, or vice versa.
I will say that in relation to this particular one, I think that it's been a long time, but I do remember reading this book. I never saw this episode of TV until just now, but the book is a lot more in depth because it's a little bit longer than 22 minutes can tackle. And so there's a lot of things that I think it builds a little bit better in the book, where it's like weird things start happening around the house and then they realize it's the sponge, and it sort of just kind of goes down this line, whereas it feels very condensed in this episode. I kind of wish sometimes Goosebumps did a 2-parter on the television show, and I kind of wish they had dug a little bit deeper into this one, because I like what's in here. It moves so fast that I feel like they jump over a whole lot of creepy stuff that they could have put in there.
It's only, I realized that watching it again, it's only like 22 minutes or something like that. And I was like,
yeah,
wow, they don't really make shows that are only 22 minutes anymore. At least
I know.
I guess kids shows probably, but
yeah. Well, and like R.L. Stine is like really, I mean, he wrote really well for kids. Like he didn't, what I loved is he always put kids in danger. Like there was never, I mean, like just shows it, but like the books even more, like he was not afraid of putting kids in danger. And he treats kids as like, with more respect than I think a lot of books might treat kids, and was into scary and like knew how to make a good scary book without it being too terrifying. Because then I would read Fear Street after, because I went from Goosebumps to Fear Street, which is like R.L. Stine's like teen books that are a little bit more like slasher-y and a little bit grosser and scarier. So like this man wrote my fucking adolescence, which is wild to me when I think about it. But he's really good at writing these kinds of books and taking kids seriously, which I definitely appreciate as someone who read a lot of books and didn't like reading books for kids because I didn't think they like thought kids were smart. So definitely the books were better, but that's just because of my soft spot I have for R.L. Stine in my heart.
Aww, that's sweet.
I know. He's really old now.
Yeah.
He did an interview. We might have to cut this, Terry. He did an interview for Dread Central, and I didn't interview him, but my coworker Josh did. And he said he was like the most stereotypical curmudgeonly old man, like was not mean, but was just so fucking grouchy. And I was like, you know what? After writing hundreds of books for kids, like your whole life, you're probably a little bit of a grouch. But it was so funny, like editing the interview and being like, this man wrote my whole childhood, and he's so old now and so grouchy, and I don't know why. It just makes me laugh.
He needs to retire.
Yeah.
Why is he working?
I think he mostly has. I know, that's
should...
my thing. I was like, Josh said, I don't know if he should do interviews anymore. I think he might be a little bit like, I think he might be too grumpy. That fucking cracks me up. So R.L. Stine, king of YA literature, is now an old grouch, and that is his right, I think.
I think so too. It's okay. As long as he's not mean.
Yeah, he wasn't mean. He was just, an old man.
Yeah.
Just like an old guy.
Yeah.
Oh,
well, Mary Beth, you had said, that he puts kids in danger. And I think what I appreciated about this episode was that there are moments of like pure danger involving the kids, but then the dog like disappears. I'm like, did they kill the dog? Like, I wasn't expecting that to happen in it. And then like the teacher in the lab afterwards, when everyone's gone and just turned the sponge and it seems like the sponge attacks her. I was like, we never see her again. I was like, did she get eaten? What happened to the teacher? But like, there are moments in this that are just like a horror movie, but for kids, but it's taking kids seriously. And I think I like that because I mean, I grew up in the 80s, like when I was a little kid in elementary school, I was in the 80s, and there was a lot of content that I consumed that I don't think would probably get made today because it was a little bit darker, a little bit more kids in danger, kids in peril, that I feel like a lot of stuff today sort of tries to minimize when it's for kids. And I don't know. I appreciate that this guy, and I think that may be why I kind of started reading his work is when I was a kid, is that it felt like he was taking us seriously and knowing that we could handle this and it's going to have a happy ending at the end. But there is going to be trauma and you're going to be okay by the end of the book. And I like that. I don't feel like we get that as much anymore.
Yeah. Protecting the kids. Oh, I don't know. There is a line. I agree. I think that there is content that's a little
Put
bit
them
too.
in danger. Put the kids in danger.
Yeah, but then we're all growing up.
Reality of life and what life is really expose them to trauma early, toughen them up to the world.
Sure.
I say that as someone who was exposed to horror at the age of 4 and have not known peace ever since. So,
Yeah.
What can you do?
I mean, yeah.
I mean, hey,
when you're seeing
now,
Jaws at like 6 or 4 for you, or you're seeing Alien at 8, yeah, maybe, but
we turned out okay for the most part.
Feels like 4 almost functioning adults.
Yeah, almost there. Well, do we want to wrap this up and give it a rating out of 5? Terry, is there anything else you wanted to hit before we wrap up?
Well, there's one thing I do want to bring up. I love when something sets up something ridiculous and then pays it off. And I love that they get this encyclopedia of the weird, and they're like reading about this creature and they call it a gruel. And then they talk about the lynx, which is a potato vampire. And I love that they bring this up early in the episode. And by the very end, what does she find? The dog comes home and he has a potato in his mouth and it has fangs and it's horrifying. And I'm like, yes, I love little stingers like that. And I just love the idea of a potato vampire.
Right? I fucking love that so much. That might be my next tattoo. So it won't be as obvious, but it'll be a little vampire potato on my arm.
Oh, that's cute. I actually like that.
I would also watch a spin-off series with Catherine Isabel's character, just finding all the weird little creatures and collecting them in like a little bestiary, have like a little bestiary of creepy beasties from around the world. I think that would be fun. But also that's what I want. I wanted as a kid to have all these little creepy beasties as pets. So like, maybe that's just me projecting. On that note, Terry, you want to wrap up and give a rating? 5?
Sure, that sounds good to me.
Hell yeah. So Terry, how many evil sponges out of 5 do you give this episode of Goosebumps?
Well, I'm going to cut one of them in half and say 3.5 because I think this is entertaining. It's enjoyable. I don't think I saw this particular episode as a kid, but I would have loved this as growing up. And music's iconic. R.L. Stein's iconic. I'm going to say 3.5. What about you, Mary Beth?
Yeah, I'm going to give it a 3. Doesn't hold up now as adults, but what 1996 children's horror program is. But I still love remembering how much of this was my childhood, and just loving revisiting these old horror shows for kids and missing having horror shows like that for kids. I don't know if kids really have that as much right now. If I'm wrong, someone please correct me and tell me what I can watch that is a Goosebumps-esque show airing right now. But yeah, it was awesome to get to revisit this. So I'm so glad you brought it with you, Cassandra. So then I'm going to throw it to you both. You have the final word. How many evil sponges out of 5 do you give? It came from beneath the sink.
I'm going to give it a 3 point. Can I do a 3/4? Is that a thing?
You sure can.
You can do whatever you want. There's no rules here.
Actually, you know what? I'm going to give it a 4 because it really just me to the bone back then. And I watched it again, and it was definitely wasn't as scary, but it was still as entertaining. And that is very important. And shout out to Kelly as well. She is a queen.
She sure is.
Mm-hmm.
She was good in this too.
She was so young.
Like child actor sometimes not the greatest, but she was really good in this.
No, yeah, a natural.
Showed that promise early on.
Yeah. And what about you, Kurtis? Did you get to watch it?
Yeah, because I hadn't seen this as a kid, so it's kind of fun to watch it through Cassandra's eyes. It gave it some funny context, and obviously Catherine's really cool. I've run into her over the years. She's also from Vancouver.
Cool.
So yeah, I think like a 3.5, solid. It was fun. It was I loved the kind of the effects of the sponge. It was very, very silly.
I love the practical sponge with his it just looks like someone just pushed a bunch of things into it and we're like, it's their monster. And I love that. That's endearing to me.
Oh yeah. It would have been fun that arts and craft day to create that little sponge. How fun was it?
It would have been fun.
That was so cool.
Yeah.
Well, thank you both so much for joining us and talking about your movie and talking about this iconic Goosebumps episode. Where can our listeners find you? And the floor is yours. What do you have that you can promote and talk about?
Yeah, so Influencer is out now. It's on Shudder, so definitely check it out. I think it's a fun ride. And yeah, we got some more stuff in development. Hopefully that we can announce soon.
Do you have any social media that you're on, Kurtis?
Trivia? Wait.
Social media.
Oh, social media. Yeah, I'm on Instagram.
Trivia now, go.
Trivia.
Tell us more besides the fact where you grew up and your religious background.
Yeah, I'll give you a sermon. No, I'm on social media under Kurtis David Harder. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter and the like.
Awesome.
Sweet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm on social media as well as Cassandra now, mostly Instagram. I try to tweet. I think I've got, it's really not for me. I'm trying, we'll get there, but Instagram for sure. And yeah, Influencer, shout out Influencer on Shudder. Hope y'all like it. It's been crazy.
So
it's been such a wild ride, just seeing all the responses, and it's pretty cool. Pretty cool to see.
So cool.
It's an excellent movie.
Oh, thanks.
So listeners, you've heard from us, but we want to hear from you. What was your experience with the Goosebumps episode? It came from Beneath the Sink, either at the episode or did you read it? You can send us an email at scarredforlifepodcast@gmail.com, or you can reach out to us directly on Twitter. I am at MB McAndrews.
And I'm at Gaily Dreadful.
And sorry, my cat is a fucking menace to society. Don't forget to follow the podcast on Twitter at Scarred Podcast.
Please don't forget to review, rate, and subscribe. And if you want to help support us, we do have a Patreon.
Thank you to Eric Power for our artwork. Thank you to Sean Keller for our music. Thank you everyone for listening. Please stay safe out there, but most importantly, stay creepy.
And until next time.
Hi, I'm Danny Pellegrino with Everything Iconic, and I'm so excited to talk about Hemp's scrubs and washes, which complement perfectly their best-selling lotions. The scrub is a luxe clean formula powered by sugar and plant-based oils that gently exfoliates the skin. I love the way this scrub feels on my skin. Plus, the wash is great, too. It's a 3-in-1 formula. It cleans while keeping the skin moisturized. So elevate your shower routine with Hemp's new body wash and scrubs, available at Ulta Beauty and Hemp's, HEMPZ.com. Check it out today.
Acast powers the world's best podcasts. Here's a show that we recommend.
What is The Briefing Room?
It's a behind-the-scenes look at how the criminal justice system works and the lives of the people within that system.
If you love true crime, well, these are the real people who do the job every day of making sure justice is served.
Hi, I'm Detective Dave.
I'm Detective Dan. Together, we have decades of experience in local law enforcement, a profession that we think is often misunderstood.
So we're going to explore how to do it right, and we won't shy away from when it's done wrong. These are stories you'll hear nowhere else. Unique, frank, and unvarnished.
From the team that brought you Small Town Dicks, this is The Briefing Room. Episode 1 drops on August 30th.
We'll meet you in the briefing room.
Acast helps creators launch, grow, and monetize their podcasts everywhere. Acast.com.